Jova, are you sure you're not exaggerating?
No, I just have a feeling something's wrong.
Okay, is it because of the uniform? I'm pretty confident it doesn't actually mean anything.
I know, but I have this feeling that something bad is about to happen and he might be...
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Where is Dad?
Hi, Tio. He said he's gonna arrive in a bit. You know how he is.
Yeah.
Well, bummer. Well, while we're waiting, I'm actually curious, what did you think of the movie?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Silver Screen Conference. I'm your host, Digimon11. With me today, as always, is Jova Hexion.
Here as usual.
Tio.
Yes.
P Pedro.
Yo.
And Shira.
Hi.
So, Jova, what's the name of today's movie we're doing?
Pokemon! Zoroark, Master of Illusions.
And in Japanese, it's known as Pocket Monsters Diamond and Pearl the Movie, Supreme Ruler of Illusions, Zororark.
Gee, Japan, that sounds actually short by your standards. You didn't want to increase that to at least 10 more words.
it's close enough at this point anyway.
I joke.
Look. The Dragon Ball names are going to be hilarious.
Oh, yes,
so,
they will.
Last movie for the Gen 4 anime. From what I heard, it said like slightly before a bunch of specific episodes, but for the purpose of the story, they're not important, as far as I understand. So we're out of deities to look after, so what are we doing?
We're promoting Gen 5!
Of course.
And I'll give it credit, it's probably one of the more clever Gen Cross promotions. To my understanding, this has kind of always been how it's been for Pokemon. You know, usually around the time of the last Gen movie, that's when they start to cross-promote gens and all that stuff.
Yeah, they usually do that.
Yeah.
Although in this case there was a bit of unfortunate timing because many thought that the Pokemon in front and center of this was gonna be treated as the new Lucario, and as a result, was going to be present in stuff like Smash Bros. But unfortunately, because of mistiming, that didn't happen. And from what that she told me,
it was her time, Sakurai. It was her time.
And from what Deji told me, obtaining even the Pokemon the specific combo Pokemon themselves in Gen 5 was also a pain in the ass. Alright, Jova, so where and when are we?
Alright then, so our movie takes place starting at a Pokemon Center with Ash and friends, who are there to watch an exhibition match of Pokemon Backer. What's Pokemon Backer? Pokemon Soccer. It is literally the time for the Pokemon Backer World Cup.
Sure.
Also, I want to point out that the team's coaches look like Yu-Gi-Oh villains. That you'd see in Duelist Kingdom or Battle City.
Speaking of people who look like certain famous people, someone important, there's a particular avid fan in the background, whose name we'll later find out is Peg, who, I swear to God, she looks like she was the beta for Ino from Gen 9. Like, even has the Magnemite hair clippings in her hair, similar to how Ino has, the giant Magnemite balls in her hair, which makes it look like hair, essentially. I honestly thought she was going to be a main character, but we'll get back to her later. Basically, World Cup watching, essentially. And the latest city that we are at is Crown City.
How original.
And, well, it's a city that has a lot of backing, given that the World Cup will be hosted by a big hotshot businessman by the name of Grings Kodai, voiced by Sean Shamel. That is now 2 Pokemon characters I can officially say have the voice of Goku, which, funny to mention it, Ethan is also in this movie as a cameo. So, that's neat, I guess.
I mean, Sean Shamel also voices Archie during the Advanced series.
God, I completely forgot about that.
And he's also the voice of Cyrus as well. He voices a lot of characters in this series.
Huh. Kudos. Basically, there's a bit of talk about a legend here and there, and yes, the Nimbasa legends consisting of the legendary beast. Who are those? Oh, you remember Suicune, Entei, and Raikou.
Suicune drop
He keeps doing it.
till last. The point is that the 3 dogs from Gen 2, for some reason.
They're not the only returning legendaries to this movie. We've got a returning mythical, Celebi, as well. And yeah, I'm just gonna get this out of the way and say, this was a better movie for Celebi than his actual movie. This was a better movie for Suicune than his movie. This was a better movie for Raikou than Legend of Thunder, which, yeah, kind of is common knowledge at that point.
He didn't do anything.
Everyone's getting redeemed in this movie.
Well, Entei really didn't need it, but to be fair, this is more of a case with the real Entei, quote unquote.
True.
A shiny variant.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Again, getting a bit ahead, but the legendaries that do show up, well, the dog ones anyway, are shinies, essentially, which, yeah, I think might be the first time we've seen shinies since the Red Gyarados episode. Granted, there might have been other shinies that showed up
we've had shinies in the past before.
Fair enough. Anyway, Grings Kodai here is the big founder for the games, essentially. However, it turns out he may have something up his sleeve, as on his airship, he hosts a Zororark, essentially having her learn the moves from the legendary dog beast. And in order to get her to do what he wants, he has her child, a Zoroark, held captive. Why is he doing this? It's a mystery. But for now, he tests Zoroark's powers of illusions by showing her holograms of the legendary Pokemon, which in turn allows her to go on a rampage disguised as them, essentially, to get people to think that the legendary beasts have gone crazy.
Well, to be fair, Joe, but that's the idea. But the testing specifically involves Zoroark transforming to Raikou, because that's also a gimmick in the game. Zoroark usually starts as another Pokemon, but you do break the illusion halfway through, But it's important what you said about Grings having something up his sleeve, because it's a case literally. Both him and his secretary, with their choice of a haircut, tend to have a special bracelet, which I think it's called like the Illusion Canceller bracelet, which literally allows them to actually pierce and see through any kind of illusion, not just Zoroark's.
I don't know why it's called illusions when the whole point is like it's not real, but however, what they transform into actually does affect things.
Okay, to be fair, while Zoroark can project attacks, essentially it is still all an illusion. Like, that's not the true power of the legendary beast.
I don't know, Jova, because this is starting to become Mastermind of Mirage 2.0, because Griggs also possesses some of that kind of holographic technology that also, adds some tangibility to them.
Okay, because we'll get into it in just a bit, but Zororark transforms into a what's the name of that hoppet, the flying grass flying hit plume. It transforms it and it's flying to save itself. So it's just like that's a straight up transformation. I know the King of Fighters 14 manga also has this with the main character's powers as this giant fish. Like, oh, they're illusions, but it's like they're real. They can actually hurt.
It's not the same as Ditto.
I think the idea has always been that, the illusion is them being the Pokemon. They can generate that move. I'd say that for that one move, Zororark was using Fly, since other times Zororark clearly can't fly, so I assume that the child was using the move Fly for that escape, essentially. Which, would make sense in some regards, but unfortunately, the Zoroark does not know that her child has escaped. This is something that Kodai will use to his advantage by continuously using a hologram of Zoroark. And I'll just say this off the bat here, Kodai is probably one of the best Pokemon villains in these movies we've gotten for a while. Like, the man is pragmatic, uses his abilities, including a certain ability we haven't gotten to yet in the plot, again, usefully.
Also as a cool airship.
Yeah, he doesn't faff around.
For most of the movie, it's parked on the lake, so we don't really see it that much, on the air.
The only mark against him is his hair, but that's really it.
Well, to be fair, Shiri, like I said, the secretary also has a choice of haircut, so...
I mean, get it? He's a shark.
Also,
Garchomp here.
And also, his other henchman has a chicken crest, so I'm pretty sure having a bad haircut is part of a company policy.
Speaking of which, his bodyguard and right-hand man's name is Goon, with an E at the end, and that's in the English version.
I hate modern lingo that ruins words.
That's pretty sus of your behavior, Dutch.
And yet, funnily enough, in the Japanese version, he is literally just called Goon. No E or anything. Yep. Literally, that's his name. Goon.
Voiced by Mark Thompson.
Coolio. But yeah, panic ensues in the city, which causes most people to evacuate, save for some people, including the mother and daughter cameo. You remember those two that first showed up in Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, with the mother reading the history of Rhoda to her daughter? Yeah, I found out those two have actually been cameos in movies ever since that first one.
They seem to be some sort of, connecting tissue between all of these movies. Also worth noting about this evacuation, the Pokemon Wiki, the Bulbapedia mentions that the city was based around cities from Belgium, but it's worth noting that the city itself is a bit, think of it like Manhattan in relation to New York. There's a main island-like part of the city, and that's the part that gets attacked and evacuated.
Mm-hmm. And during that evacuation is when Ash and company come across Peg, who pretty much explains what's going on here, how the city works and whatnot, especially seeing as how this is one of the many places that Celebi visits, essentially. And I'm pleased to announce that, yes, this movie does keep in mind continuity from Pokemon Forever, for better or for worse, in the sense that, yes, continuity is maintained, but no, Pokemon Forever was not just a nightmare you all had. It was very much real. I apologize.
Mostly in the form of Ash remembering what Celebi looks like and everything.
And also about, how Celebi brings prosperous and, brings
nature
prosperous
and stuff,
nature and all that. See, it turns out a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
the city kind of ran afoul of Celebi in the sense that something went very wrong with Celebi's usual ritual. But more on that later. Basically, Ash and company make their way into the city. Peg pretty much exits the movie until the end. Again, to be fair, I've done my research and I have not found anything to suggest that she was originally supposed to be a main character, but I swear to God, she had a main character design, but nonetheless, she will not be participating in most of this movie. No, who will be participating in this movie is a man named Carl.
Who is just Hilbert in design.
Tracy. Actually, I was going to say he looks like Tracy, but older.
And in terms of personality and goals and everything, think of Vince Vaughn's character from The Lost World Jurassic Park. I know, a bit of a weird connection, but it's basically that. He's a sort of an environmentalist who has been tailoring Gring's Kodai for a while, and he's trying to catch a scoop in order to catch him in the act and give him to justice because he believes in mistreats Pokemon, which us as the audience know that's true.
Thankfully, unlike Vince Vaughn's character in Lost World, A, his actions are justified, B, he's not a blithering moron who endangers people needlessly, and C, well, he's actually likable. In addition, we'll also get the grandfather of Carl, Joe, who runs a store, essentially, as well as Tammy, who owns a flower shop. And I swear to God, Tammy looks like the prototype for the Elite Four Dragon Pokemon leader from Gen 6.
Drazna.
Yeah, like, she looks a lot like her, just maybe a bit shorter
the
and without the
haircut.
fancy clothes.
Drazna also tends to have her eyes closed all the time.
Yeah.
I would joke that Tammy looks like she could be the grandmother of Dawn, but, well...
Speaking of which,
Kind of
Donna still has her old confident people up.
Okay, I'll give Piplup
It's still, look, Theo. No matter how you feel about Don's Piplup, you will hate Ash's Oshawott.
I already told you, I'm more hating the fact that they don't allow these starters to evolve.
Marketability.
Ugh.
Well, Gen 7's anime kinda did away with that.
Like I said, it's been inconsistent for most of the time. For example, Ash's Trico becomes a Grovyle eventually, but doesn't go more than that.
Yes, it does.
Oh, it becomes a Sceptile eventually?
Yeah.
Okay, then, fair enough. I distinctly remember someone got stuck in the middle form.
It was Marsh Top.
God, I get the Pridal Swampert.
Sorry, Tio.
Let's
The
move
water
on.
type. But yeah, so we're in the city essentially, and this is where they run afoul of the bad guys. Oh, by the way, Team Rocket are there too.
Yeah, I was hoping you were not going to mention so we could do the surprise at the end. By the way, Team Rocket is in this movie because I had to admit that this is a new record. They had more stuff to do in the Darkrai movie, for crying out loud. Because I can tell you already in this, they shown up at the very beginning, these guys as janitors just to watch the match, behind Ash and the others' backs. Then they try to assert the situation by trying to sneak towards, the bad guys, airship while it's parked in the water. But that's when the shiny legendaries arrive, which a bit later in the story. They get blasted off, and we only see them in a post-credit scene afterward, in a post-credit scene where they talk about some philosophy while drifting away. That's it. That is it. They barely even interact with Ash this time around.
You could call it a cameo, and that's
to be fair, Team Rocket do have some interaction and influence on the main plot. That is, that Zora nearly knocking into them is what will lead Zora into meeting the main cast. So, technically, Team Rocket did play a part, but...
Come the fuck on.
It has the same
because of random circumstance.
It has the same relevance as the rat saving the universe to get Ant-Man out of the quantum realm. Okay.
Things will get better for them, well, show-wise anyway. Movies-wise, I can't entirely remember, but still, I don't get it. What's wrong with letting them have more of a role in these movies? They were able to interact before. Heck, even literally help the plot in the second and third movies, so what gives?
I guess they just didn't know what to do with them, man.
Are they, contractually obligated to include them?
They have to put them in or else people get mad.
Yeah, but were people not mad about them pretty much just being glorified closet supplies here? Yeah, whatever. But yeah, anyway, Zora pretty much gets knocked off course by Team Rocket and their non-mega balloon. Sorry, Yon-mega balloon. I'll give them credit, they are creative with all the vehicles they come up with. Jesus. And, basically, through a certain bout of circumstances, Pikachu and Piplup come across Zororark, who also at some point runs into Celebi. So it turns out Zororark can actually talk using telepathy. And again, I'm proud to announce, thankfully Zororark is not an annoying half-pint who's way too cocky.
Gee, I wonder who you're referring to.
Look. I liked the Giratina movie. But goddamn, that mythical Pokemon.
Also, if you watch the movie, you might be tempted to think that Zororark is voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy. Tails is Miles Tails per Hour's current voice actress. But no, instead she's voiced by Aileen Stevens. But again, she does a very good job at selling the character. So
the party finally meet Zorua, essentially, who pretty much tells them that it's looking for its Mima, ergo its mom, essentially, and it's talking about how she was captured, and, one thing led to another, and how Zoroark is the real one attacking the city, but not for a malicious intent or purposes, essentially. It is legit just a hostage situation.
It's also worth noting that Grings is doing major gaslighting on the citizens by not just, masquerading the attack as the one of the three legendaries, but also using his literal Mastermind of Mirage drones. Yes, they really do look like that. In order to fake footage, apparently, in order to simulate more of the attack and pretend that monuments have been destroyed to simulate the attack, and then release a communication online where he says, these Pokemon are actually, destroying the town. I'm so sorry about that.
So it turns out the reason Kodai is doing all this is actually to clear the city so that he can get to work without, getting any needless collateral damage, or probably more importantly, not exposing his true intentions. So, anyway, back to the main party, essentially. Unfortunately, it seems that Zorua is cornered by several wild Pokemon, essentially, including a Mightyena. But it turns out these are just Pokemon of Carl, essentially, who is there legit trying to help keep Zorua safe. So basically, he takes them back to the shop where we meet Joe and Tammy, essentially. Zorua is brought back to health. And, oh yeah, by the way, Celebi is there. Again, he does help out a bit every now and then. Nonetheless, what is Kodai up to? So, it turns out that Kodai has future vision.
No, really, it's basically the Shulk's precognition power. Also the time cancer of Final Fantasy 13 too. His eyes flash occasionally when he's receiving the vision. He just stands there, barely comatose, also having a seizure, and then he gets in shock by the discovery that he had.
Mm-hmm. And his plans tie into that. And again, like I mentioned before, he is a villain who actually uses his future vision effectively. Okay, props to the writing. They don't make the future vision too overpowered, essentially. It's not like he can see every little single detail that is going to happen in the future. What he gets, essentially, is a glimpse of a certain event and everything now and then. And I will tell you, he is quite determined to make sure that those visions come to be, especially when it seems like they're in his favor.
Okay, Tio, Pedro, I have something to say.
Go on.
The main villain of this movie, his plan is basically the plot to Madam Web.
Okay. To be fair, his ultimate goal is not to prevent his death. It's not like he's like, oh, you'll kill me, so I must kill you. Like, no. To be fair, his main goal is actually in restoring his powers, because the time cancer that was mentioned actually works a bit differently. It's not so much that it's killing him, but it is putting him in pain, and it turns out that his future vision powers are fading. And needless to say, his future vision powers are how he attained his massive wealth and whatnot.
But I had to stop her fast, like, oh my god, Madam Web just ripped his plot.
Yeah,
like, you've been sitting on that for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, he's even after kids who would interfere with his plans.
Thankfully, it's not well, I guess it would have been more amusing if by the end he got smashed by a Pepsi sign, I suppose.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! But he even influences the media to accuse someone of doing a crime that he was responsible for.
Wow. Well, given that Sony clearly were just on the absolute burnout with that movie. It would not surprise me if some guy went, "Hey boss, you remember that Zororark movie? Bad guy has a perfect time travel vision plot that we could use to counteract Madam Web." Genius, Johnson, genius. But yeah, no, essentially we learned from Carl that a while ago, the disaster that occurred in Crown City was a younger Kodai essentially researching the Celebi's ancient power, essentially. What he found, essentially, was a special stone that granted him the future vision abilities. The problem was, interacting with the stone interfered with Celebi's nature ritual, and well, that led to a good deal of the town's vegetation, everything just pretty much going dead.
That's also because, again, it featured with the interaction with the time hole. It seems to be a case where Grings literally has to jam his hand inside the thing, absorb the energy, and it literally acts as a drug to him. The first time it was kind of accidental, but ever since, the entire reason why he wants the prophecy to come across and succeed in that is because he cannot have enough of the time cancer energy. He literally is too addicted to it.
Hey, Dedge.
Mm-hmm.
Time-traveling, evil future vision Goku. It's Goku Black.
Okay,
Stand back, this man is not black.
Oh no, this villain. No, he can't be Goku Black because he doesn't ramble on. He actually knows when to shut up.
Really?
Jiroi, if you watch Super, oh my god, you will want to punch Zamasu in the face.
The Zamasu saga is contested because of a lot of reasons, Shiroi. That's all we need to know.
Right.
They gave Olympia, the gym leader from Gen 6, similar powers that she can see into the future because she's a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a major plot point in that season because, so I see how Astro Ninja works. Also, I see how the world's going to end. So, good luck with that. Have fun.
Goody. Just wonderful. Anyway, meanwhile, Kodai's assistant, Rowena, just happens to be looking through his files, essentially, which, is rather naughty for his assistant to be doing. And wouldn't you know, she kind of gets caught in the act about that. But haha! It turns out, by letting her hair down, she reveals that she is not just a mere assistant.
And removing her glasses.
She is Lois Lane. No,
really.
Seriously, she's a super secret spy reporter who is essentially Lois Lane. However, to Kodai's credit, he admits he knew she was going to betray him, and that this is all part of his machinations, given how he wants the visions to go accordingly. So he does his best to make sure that things go his way without interfering too much, essentially.
I still think he's kind of an idiot for that.
Oh,
Okay,
including making his passwords very silly.
It's more about
I wrote down the note. Go on.
That's apparently one of the few major differences with between the Japanese version and the English one. While not as super complex, the Japanese password is a 6 character digit that means time ripple. Ripple, while in the English it's the letter that form vision. I get what apparently the reason why they did that is because they wanted to keep the 6 character bias to it, but the problem is that vision is such a more simplistic term to use.
I guess if they were limited to like the 6-digit term, then in terms of okay,
because I was watching this in Japanese, and anytime they said time ripple, they said harmon. I was like, oh no, my JoJo brain is activated.
Okay. To Kodai's credit, I can believe he planned it, since it turns out he did place a tracker on Rowena, which unfortunately does give away their location to him, essentially, which allows him to arrive and pretty much take exactly what he needs. Zoroark to get Zoroark back in shape because, turns out Zoroark actually, just for the love of her baby, actually breaks free of the specially designed container made, which, to be fair, did hold her for the majority of the film, but she actually manages to bust out.
And to give
parental bonds. Parental bonds. Before the Mega Evolution happens.
And to give Kodai's credit, he also traps Ash and the others in one of these boxes, which are particularly effective. So there's that.
Although Carl ruined the running gag of Ash running into something getting hurt, he stopped him before running. It's like okay,
no, it's electrified.
Yeah.
So who knows? Given what we've seen Ash tank, maybe, just maybe, he could have burst through it.
This is also the point where the 3 shiny legendaries dogs arrive and they start fucking shit up with Kodai's airship because Zororark was on it.
Basically, the 3 legendary beasts are aware that their name has been sullied and they ain't too happy about it since they target Zoroark, pretty much believing that she was pretty much causing wanton chaos. And
well, they actually knew that they sensed that the town was in danger, so that's why they came.
Mhm.
I think we're also skipping over Kodai's backstory of how.
Well, we mentioned how he got his powers, essentially, and how he used that to pretty much amass his wealth.
God, could you imagine, could you imagine if he was in the 4th movie, just when Ash and Co were fighting Vicious, and he's just like, don't mind if I do, let me just get this timer.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if it... it would be funny if actually the Celebi we do meet in this movie was one of the Celebi that helped heal Celebi in Pokemon Forever, honestly, I would not mind that as a headcanon since it actually does work in that sense.
I mean, it kind of is. It's just Celebi traveling through various different points. Well, though, it would be funny if, as soon as Celebi leaves the movie, he just jumps into the past, gets chased by some old guy with his I think Houndoom and Cypher.
Have you ever you haven't seen much of Doctor Who, haven't you, Dodger?
I think I actually made...
That happens that happens all the time, and I mean the idea of jumping from one dangerous situation literally into another, because it depends on the perspective in which you see traveling from one place in time to another.
I think I actually made the joke when we were watching this movie for the podcast that after the events of this movie, Celebi pretty much goes into Pokemon Forever, essentially. Which would explain why he is so friendly with Ash by that point.
Wouldn't explain why he's more incompetent, but sure, let's continue.
Yeah, that would be a thing. So essentially the race is on, essentially, since Zoroark is taking a beating from the 3 legendary dog beasts, essentially. And, meanwhile, we've got to help Zororark while also stopping Kodai from essentially, once again, making another time ripple to recharge his powers with, essentially. That said, luckily, believe it or not, our heroes are able to explain things to the legendary beasts, essentially. That Zoroark is innocent, and they actually listen. There's no needless fighting after that. I'll admit, I'm surprised at how straightforward this movie is and how it pretty much avoids a lot of stupid cliches in that regard.
Mm-hmm. If I recall correctly, anyway, one of the points is that, remember what we mentioned before, as long as Kodai keeps his Illusion Canceller bracelet on his wrist, neither Zorua nor Zoroark can trick him in any kind of way with their illusions. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which means he is pretty much immune to that, which is going to be a problem because he is now close to the time ripple. It's time for our big climax to take place near the Pokemon Backer World Cup Stadium, essentially, where he is setting things into motion. That being said, in one of his visions, he did see himself choking out Zorua to attain ultimate power, and
it's very graphical when you get down to it.
Yes, this man will indeed choke out a child. In order to attain ultimate power, Kodai sees that he needs to put Celebi out of the picture. Look,
okay, I have one. I wrote this in my notes, and I feel like most of his plan could have worked if he had done one simple thing. And I'm going to pull a Tio here. Why didn't you just capture Celebi? You could have actually benefited from this.
A lot of the characters in these movies just forget that Pokeballs are supposed to be a thing.
You know, when you think about it, the villain of Pokemon Forever did the smart thing and just controlled
Hell,
Celebi.
even what was he called, like Charles III, whatever, the villain from the second movie.
Lawrence.
Sure, it was still a moron for not using actually Pokeball, but he was on a better track.
Okay, to give Kodai credit, he clearly wants the power for himself, which is
But it's like you could have used that to your benefit,
There's also the advantage that Kodai is a believer of predestination to a 100% degree.
Kodai, yeah, like Tio mentioned, Kodai is essentially a villain who is obsessed with keeping time exactly as he sees fit. His mentality is, if he interferes too much, that could end up backfiring on him, which, yeah, to be fair, that do be the case in a lot of time travel ventures here and there. So that's also probably a reason why he doesn't want to take any chances that Celebi might betray him or Celebi will be too nice and throw a wrench in his plans even if he captures it. Also, given how capture mechanics work, Celebi might heavily resist a Pokeball too.
But he was able to knock Celebi out, which is I don't know. I feel like...
But Dedge, he did it physically. Well, okay, actually, no, he did it using.
He did it in the past. So it's like you.
We didn't mention, but his signature Pokemon are a Shuppet, which he constantly uses Future Sight for.
Foresight, actually.
Foresight.
Get it? And Future Vision.
And a Mismajuice, if I recall correctly.
Misdreavus,
the pre-evolution? Okay.
No, the evolution.
Oh, Mismajuice. Okay.
Yeah.
But the idea of the plan is that Ash is gonna carry Celebi in his backpack, in order to get Celebi to the time ripple before Kodai actually gets there, while the other will keep the henchman occupied. It's worth noting that Goon is the one that's doing a lot of heavy lifting because he has a storm of Ninjask and Scizors, so he uses mostly those.
While driving an armored car that would make Dr. Eggman blush.
So yeah.
Like I said, the race is on it, essentially. Now, the legendary beasts deal with Good, essentially, as does Dawn and Brock, essentially, while Ash and company have to deal with Kodai, essentially. Unfortunately, Kodai gets the drop on them, and, well, like we mentioned, legit starts to choke out Celebi after incapacitating Zoroark and Zororark. Zoroark taking most of the hits.
Well, it's worth noting that Zoroark actually manages to bite, close to his hand. So at the very least, he scores something.
Yeah, Zoroark did manage that. Unfortunately, Kodai does indeed strangle Celebi. To the death by the looks of it. And what's worse, he manages to reach into the time ripple and recharge his powers. That's it. Kodai has essentially won. Until he realizes that something isn't right when things start to disappear around him. No, it turns out it was all an illusion, cast by Zoroark. But wait, you say. Shouldn't the bracelet on his wrist, cancel that out? Oh, you mean this bracelet? The one that Zoroark happened to pick off of him?
Well, yeah, no, it's not like he picked off the bite. When he beat the wrist, it broke it.
You should have made a spare, you idiot.
Well, that's what I meant by pick it up. But yeah, basically during the bite, Zoroark got the bracelet off of it. And essentially now, Kodai has more or less revealed his evil machinations in front of a bunch of his camera drones.
Literally caught in 4K.
Cancel culture strikes again!
So he tries to make an escape, but once again, Zoroark ain't having it, and literally uses illusions to pretty much trick him into falling off into the stadium.
Believing that he's on his airship.
Now, to my knowledge, in the manga, he actually died.
Yeah, he gets arrested. He gets arrested by the police.
Yeah, no, he goes the way of Gaston in the manga.
But
it's also worth noting that Zoroark was literally on her door, or her death step. So she literally used the last of her powers just to give a one final fuck you to Kodai. It's amazing.
She earned it, and dear God, she was hating. And hey, even if Zoroark did not manage the heights of Lucario, I have to give the movie credit that it let it balance out Ash and Zoroark's roles instead of just, having one essentially steal all the thunder from the other.
But alas, that means that Zoroark passes away, with the little Zoro actually crying, their tears off.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, we happen to have a special mythical Pokemon who's good at reviving people from death's door.
Yeah.
Because Celebi can finally complete his ritual, which allows us to which allows one last illusion cast by Zoroark in a warm, sunny field where Celebi can indeed heal her. Since, to be fair, wild Pokemon do count as nature under Celebi's book. So I don't find it an ass-pull either, since this was something well established beforehand. Technically established as early as the 4th movie,
Yeah,
too.
it's also a bit more graceful than what the movie 4 did.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It also helps that they don't emotionally manipulate the viewer like movie 4 did, like with the scene with the berry.
What is this? A Disney movie where a character dies and immediately gets back to life? Look at you, Eugene.
But yeah, no, essentially, Celebi revives Zoroark, Kodai and Goon are caught and arrested, and all is well, essentially, as Zoroark and Zorua leave with Rowena and Carl off to, I guess, Gen 5's location, essentially.
Yeah, Ash even goes to say, "Oh, don't worry, we're gonna make sure to actually, visit you sometimes." Proceed to never do that.
Spoilers, they don't.
And Ash should be, and remember, apparently for the black and white anime, Ash gets to have a lobotomy, so it's even worse.
Ash should have been able
No, don't worry, we'll get to ranting about that show next time.
Ash should have at least gotten to partner up with the Zorua and have it evolve into a Zoroark.
Anime gotta stop giving children lobotomies.
Honestly, I feel like a Zoroark fits Richie more.
Alright, so the day saved and Team Rocket does some philosophy while floating down the river. They were really that useful in this movie, I suppose. The end.
And that's the movie. And yeah, I'll just preface this by saying this was a delightful surprise. It may not be my favorite of the Gen 4 movies, but again, I was expecting something that was more of a letdown compared to other stuff. But no, this actually felt like a good transition, good plot, good characters, good villain. Especially given how time travel is technically involved and they managed to not screw that up.
But wait, I hear you. If Zoroark and Zorua are so awesome in this movie, what can I do to actually get them in the game, Dej?
Oh boy.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the way of obtaining mythical Pokemon in the franchise has gotten ridiculous over the years. As like getting Zeraid, having to sign up for a newsletter, and some people didn't get the code. But this, to me, is probably the dumbest way of doing it. So basically, what you have to do is go to GameStop. If I recall correctly, this event happens before Black and White came out, right?
The movie?
Yes, sir. If I recall correctly, yes, sir.
So you have to go to GameStop and use your copy of any Gen 4 Pokemon game, which is Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver, and be able to obtain the free Legendary Beasts Shiny variants. Once Black and White comes out, you have to trade them to your main game. Keep in mind that this is basically post game because you can't get those Pokemon until you beat the main game. Yeah, you have to go to a Lostlorn Forest. You go to this house where you just see a mysterious person, and once it activates, oh look, you're fighting Riku or Suicune or whatever ones. You have to have one of those shiny legendary beasts in your party, and then once you attack it, oh, it's a wild Zoroark. and that's how you fight it, and that's how you capture it. It's really stupid. Why did they do that? I think with Zora, you have to have a Celebi with you in order and go to a Pokemon Center. I'm not entirely sure, but I just remember catching the Zoroark and Zoroark in those games, which they tried to make the face of Gen 5, was really rock stupid. And it's like, yeah, you kind of ruined the potential popularity with these Pokemon here.
So, in the end, it wasn't the movie that screwed over Zororark, it was the campaign,
Basically.
which is all the more...
It was a mixture of everything, because I'm still convinced that it was supposed to be in Smash Bros. Before the cooler Pokemon Greninja. Sorry, did I say that? Came in. I mean, but on the bright side, the Hisuian forms kind of helped its popularity. Because I think that Hisuian Snow and how they were marketing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it took like 12 years or so, but it happened.
And hey, you know, Zoroark and Zoroark thankfully became much easier to get in later generations.
Thank God. Again, you were supposed to be new Gen Lucario.
I mean, I'm not too broken up about it. I mean, I like Zoroark, and granted, maybe it's because I'm not suffering that disappointment in real time, but you know, it's good. And hey, we got Greninja.
Yeah.
Alright then,
Alright,
movie's over.
Shall we?
Alright, Dad, so it's time for the awards. So what do we start with?
Alright, so we start with... Well, actually, which one do you want to do?
The Go Award, I guess. We start
with
yes. Bad character.
Yeah. Let's start with the Go Award. For those that don't know, that's basically who we think is the worst character in this movie. Also, side note, I've been getting a complaint from one of our viewers that, why Go? Really? Like, yes. Yeah.
Yes. The only answer to that question is fucking yes.
He sucks.
Anyway, so who wants to start?
I forgot her name. The purple-haired girl who is given a really cool... That's it, Peg. Peg is given a really cool design by Ken Sugimori, and yet she does exactly Bupkis, Zilch, nada. Like, seriously, like I mean, I have to pick her because there's not really any bad characters in this movie per se, aside from maybe how over the top cartoonish the villain is.
Yeah, like I mentioned during the synopsis.
But I enjoy the villain, so I'm not really gonna pick him as worst characters. I'm gonna go with Peg because Peg is such a waste of a good design. Why did you even bother giving her such a cool design and a cool little, jetpack thingy or whatever the hell that is, if you're not going to do anything with her? Such a waste.
And like I mentioned during the synopsis, I looked and researched. I can't find anything to suggest that she was originally supposed to have a bigger role, so
you could have just given her.
Just happened to get a cool design, which I'm fine with.
They could have just told Ken to give her a very generic, typical design for like typical irrelevant NPCs, but no, they specifically told him design this really cool this cool looking character, but we're not going to do anything with her. Like, it's a waste of Ken's talent.
Alright, Java.
Team Rocket. I don't even hate them, but they really contributed the absolute least in this. The most that they have in terms of interacting with the main plot is getting Zorwa to meet the party. That is pretty much it.
Yeah.
It feels so jarring coming off of other stuff where we've seen them get to do more, and even when they didn't have that much of a role. God dang.
Shiroi?
Brock.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. Yeah, actually, I don't think we mentioned Brock at all in this synopsis.
Like, he kind of just shows up, does his usual shtick that got old years ago, and doesn't really do much else aside from that. So, yeah, not great.
Yeah, I have to agree. When it comes to me, I would have picked Team Rocket as well, but for the sake of picking someone different, I'm gonna go with Goon.
Damn it, you stole my answer!
Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's technically a bad character, but he's very anonymous, generic, yeah. It's like your typical, henchman in a Bond movie that tries to be like Oddjob or Jaws, but unfortunately doesn't reach that kind of personality, and as a result becomes relatively bland. Goons technically has power of his own thanks to his ninjaska and scissors, but the problem is that he doesn't speak that much. He doesn't do physically that much, and by the end of the movie, he's arrested as well. So, Edge.
Can I just say the free legendary beast is like, we're here, I guess. Sort of.
Fun fact, I don't know if it's gonna be chosen for the image of at the center that you're seeing right now, but for the poster of the movie, the three legendary dogs are not in their shiny form for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I guess it's supposed to give away the illusion of Zororark.
Those shucks, I got bamboozled again.
So you mean the real legendaries in this realm were shinies all along? Which is funny, given how technically the regular Entei we saw in Pokemon 3 was also an illusion.
Alright, next up.
Alright, so the Mewtwo Award, which is given to the best character in this category. So I'll give it to Tio. Go first.
I know anyone is gonna try to pick up the main villain, so I'll try to pick someone else. I'm gonna go with Zoroark herself.
You stole mine.
Well, but
of course, the furry wants that one.
Shut up, Daji.
You can pick the pop of the litter, Shira, if you want. But no, again, cool way of showcasing her power, cool determination. She doesn't even speak. She's to the point where she doesn't even have an English voice actress. They keep Romy Park's line, which is a great voice actress when it comes to both male and female roles. And it's her actions as a result that speaks, and also the illusions, and you can definitely just feel the frustration that she goes through and the desire to protect the child without feeling overbearing. So it's a nice kind of balance. Speaking of which, Shira.
Well, I guess I'll pick the very easiest option then and go with Kodai, I guess.
Yep.
Very proactive. Something you don't often see in these movies. I feel like him being blinded by his ability a little bit is what did him in, but he did pretty well for the most part. Yeah.
That's
actually good villain, I guess.
That's actually a nice bout of irony you pointed out here. For all the future sight that he does have, he's blind to the true big picture of stuff, which does end up being his undoing.
He's just so sure that everything will play out as he wants it, just because he sees a part of it. And yeah.
All right, Pedro.
The woman, I forgot her name. The woman who's secretly, who's acting as the secretary for the bill. That's it. Because I'm a sucker for pretty lady with glasses. So.
But Pedro, when she removes her disguise, she removes her glasses, and the
movie
better.
But she's still a gorgeous, and she didn't throw away glasses. She still has them there, so she can.
Yeah, she can always put them back on at any time.
She can put them on later when it's time. So
glasses are very practical.
But Pedro, not another team movie told me that you have to remove them.
That's the logic is, of course, remove the glasses, let down the hair. Hell, Spy Family season 2 even did that same joke too. So yeah, sure, of course.
Jova.
All right, then replace Zoroark with Zorua, essentially. Zorua is, again, well, wouldn't you know, a sidekick Pokemon who manages to be, sturdy and tough without being annoying, essentially. And does have relatively a good contribution to the overall plot, even, again, getting the bracelet off, which helps defeat Kodai since he's no longer immune to Zoroark's intentions. So yeah, normally I probably would have picked Kodai or heck even Ash essentially, since hey, Ash is nice and proactive in this, but again, wanted to mix things up, so we'll go with Zorua.
Yeah, it's worth noting, just quickly before that mentions, while I did not pick him for any category, it's worth noting that I am actually pleased with the way Ash and Pikachu are actually present in this movie. While they are technically, spectator and they are involved, they do not really hijack anything. Ash and Pikachu are important for the climax. Pikachu, if I recall correctly, defeats Mismadrus. But it's not like Ash punches personally, the villain in the face, or steal the screen time for Zororark. Much like with the Arceus movie, this movie understands the role that Ash has to have, despite being the protagonist of the anime, and I appreciate that. Edge.
Hey, so did you guys remember that Brock and Misty were in this movie? I mean, Brock and Dawn were in this movie.
Misty dead.
Yeah, sorry,
dead.
Brock and
Misty's
Dawn.
gone. Misty's gone. Dead. She can't hurt you anymore.
Sorry.
Okay?
I meant Brock.
I already
and Dawn.
mentioned Brock in like worst character, so I acknowledged his existence at least.
So,
Yeah,
It's just funny. It's like, man, we barely talked about them. They were barely in this.
Dej, would you say that Dawn's Piplup had more presence in this movie than Dawn herself?
Well, yeah, Piplup actually. Remember people doing something here and there, like whereas Dawn just kind of is there.
Okay, to her credit, like I mentioned, Dawn and actually, okay, to be fair, during the synopsis, I did mention how Dawn and Brock were part of the team that helped bring down Goon, so technically they did still participate, especially with Brock's Krogunk and Sudowoodo.
So what's your favorite character?
Yeah, I'll just go with Pikachu.
Fair enough.
Nice.
No. I don't think there was an outright terrible character in this film.
Nah.
All right, next up.
The worst scene.
All right, so worst scene.
Can I mention the first because I had the perfect one? The Dutch asked me about Zoroark, which is something that we purposefully avoided talking about because Zorua has this ability that he can also morph into human just with a gimmick. But no, as much as, I would like to pick that, I'll allow someone else to because it will crop up eventually. No, you want to know what my worst part of the movie is? The credits. And I don't mean the song. I'm actually very happy to report that this movie avoids having the stupid pop song, that interrupts the movie, and instead for the credits they go for a more gentle ballad. However, in order to be a send-off to Gen 4, they have a bunch of slideshow about the characters from the anime and the games, the gym leaders, and right at the very end, we get a very off-model Cynthia. How fucking dare you ruin West Girl?
Look, Tia, you've been too gaslit by the fan art.
No, I'm sorry. She just look off. And why would you do that?
Oh no! You want to know why? Because that's literally just a scene from her from the anime itself.
Also, from what I heard, the Hyperion that's on the other side apparently has a colorist error. Apparently, oops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But yeah, that will be me. I know it sounds petty, but love my girl.
Yeah, were you one of those people that were complaining about Cynthia's outfit before she fought Ash in the Masters 8? It's like, why is she flat chested? Why does she have a flat butt? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Next.
You're not that much of a gooner. All right, next, Joe, you go.
Worst scene. I'm gonna say Team Rocket pretty much being booted out of the main film's plot, because again, I guess my only real big sense of disappointment is just how little Team Rocket got to play a role in this movie. Like, otherwise, every scene works out for me for the most part. So, yeah, Team Rocket getting essentially booted from the main plot.
Alright, next.
Shirai.
Shiri.
I'll go with the tail grabbing then, sure, why not?
Yeah, the audience needs a bit of elaboration because we didn't mention much, but...
Basically, Zora turns into people, but the way to tell, like, you know how with Ditto, it's the face and eyes? With Zora, he hasn't mastered his illusion so well to the point where he can get rid of his tail, essentially.
So everyone gets a tail.
I think it's worse with Dawn because remember when they're trying to search for clues and they're sniffing, and Ash even joins in. Zora turns into Dawn, and it's like, no, stop.
Each of their tails get grabbed at some point. It's like a running joke throughout the thing.
Interestingly enough, the film does end with Zorua disguised as Ash and its mother Zoroark transformed as Pikachu.
They did it just for the funsies.
I guess to trick us into thinking Ash and Pikachu were leaving with them to the next region.
Yeah. For a quick moment, it's like, what the hell? Why are you guys leaving?
Which I guess would have been somewhat symbolic since Dawn ain't in Gen 5.
I guess.
So that could have potentially been Ash leaving, although he'd be leaving Brock behind too.
Again, during the credits, we also see, like I said, a bunch of characters with very impressive in the anime, and among them are Dawn's mother, I think.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
her mom, Zoe,
the professor,
Paul.
Like the whole tail thing wasn't even that bad. It was just like it's a thing the movie does, and yeah.
Like, they don't go nearly as bad as they could have. Like, it's not like we have Ash kissing a Pokemon this time around.
Exactly.
Pedro.
I guess I'll just go for Brock once again doing his lady shtick because, like Shiro said, it got old years ago, and I'm tired of it.
Hey, Pedro! Good news. This is the last one where he does it because he's gone.
Yay! I mean, how sad.
Anyway, go on, Dej.
I want to say when the villain knew that his assistant was going to betray him, and then when she appears in the present, it's like, I knew it. He's like, I knew it. Like, yeah. I feel like this might actually come to bite you back in the ass, man. What, are you stupid?
What is the plan there? Is he stupid?
Why didn't Dr. Gero collect the Dragon Balls during all these years? Was he stupid?
Why doesn't Batman just carry all his gadgets all at once? Is he stupid?
So I guess that's your worst scene pick, Dej.
Yeah.
Best scene, I suppose.
Alright. Who wants to go first?
It might be cheating to say the climax as a whole, so I think I'll say the one where Kodai essentially thinks he's won, but then it turns out it's an illusion when it turns out Ash and Zorua pretty much got the drop on him. Again, it's not a defeat. Like, look, it's not a defeat by the villain being dumb. He legit, as far as he knew, was winning. Like, it was just a legit good play made by both sides, and I can appreciate that, especially in a Pokemon movie. Good stuff.
Kind of reminds me of the climax of Anarchy Reigns to an extent, although it's more it's more delusion than illusion in that case.
You know, in a sense, it's kind of like Ash and Company pulled an Ace Attorney on him, getting him to oust himself like that and everything.
Well, to be fair, we were mentioning, well, it's more about, it's also a bit similar to what happened in Batman Returns, you know. With
there wasn't enough bullshitting for this to be Ace Attorney.
Alright, I guess I'll go next. Okay. Technically, there's a lot that can be, you know, chose for that. Part of me wanted to pick the climax, but to be fair, there's good stuff all around. So one particular scene where the team is investigating, which we didn't elaborate much upon, shows the Vince Vaughn equivalent character, pardon for me forgetting the names, noticing about the monuments still being intact, and compares footage and starts piecing together. If I remember correctly, it's not that long that he meets, you know, the undercover Lois Lane style reporter, and as a result, the two even kind of knew each other, or at least he knew by fame her, and everything, and the two even bond as a result. So I kind of like that kind of, dynamic that happens through the movie, which is still relatively subtle and not too in your face, which is a common theme for all the characters of a movie. That's pretty neat. Next.
Shirai.
This is also kind of a cop-out answer, but pretty much any scene involving Zoroark.
Mm-hmm. Do you want a plushie of the thing?
Because for the same reason that of the little one, but Zora. But as for Zoroark, it's pretty much the same reason that was already said why she was a good character. Just very determined mother, like absolutely giving no fucks whatsoever whenever she's on screen, and it's just great. Like until her final moments, it's really good to watch. Like, yeah, that's it.
Pedro.
Okay, I get it. Every scene where the villain is laughing maniacally, because he amuses me. Because he amuses me.
Oh yeah,
you mentioned
Kodai was
that
fun.
you mentioned that Sean Shimen also voices Cyrus, but I think I asked this question when we were watching the movie. Like, does he have a history of voicing particular, villains in anime? Okay, we did mention before about Goku Black for obvious reason, but aside from that,
he also voiced Black Doom.
All right, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound anything like him, and apparently. That voice was all natural.
I know, right? He did an amazing Dr. Claw impression.
All right, next, Edge, it's of you.
Okay, this is a very simple shot, but when we have Kodai's flashback, and he's just reflecting that he can't see his visions anymore, and there's a blood moon in the background, I thought that was a really cool shot.
Yeah.
It also symbolizes a bit his madness, the fact that he's so goddamn addicted to the time cancer energy.
like something.
Look, he's a hormone user. He's addicted to the ripple.
Of course.
Have we gotten a Sean Schemmel voiced character in JoJo now that you mention it?
I don't think so. It's mostly fresh blood. All right.
No, because Johnny Young Bosch voiced Jonathan, and Ben Diskin was Joseph.
All right, that leaves the final thoughts and score. Pedro?
Again, the movie's just average overall. So I guess just for the sake of the villain being as fun, I guess I'll give it a 6.
All right, Shiroi?
Yeah, this was a lot more enjoyable than I expected, and I didn't go into this movie with many expectations anyway. It could have gone south in a few areas, particularly with the cute telepathic little furball. That could have easily gone wrong, as we've seen.
I honestly wonder if Zoro was an apology for Giratina. Well, the movie. Shaman, yeah.
But yeah, no, this was actually a really enjoyable movie. We didn't see them together all that much, but you could feel the bond between Zora and Zoroark. They apologized to several Pokemon, as was mentioned at the start of this, for previous movies. The setting as well is really nice, even though we weren't in the town too much. Shame about the one cool-looking character, though, having literally no role whatsoever. Because, yeah, the design is really good. Again, a proactive villain, and their assistant is also such. And, yeah, that's it. I think this is a 7.
Nice. All right, then. I guess I can
Actually, no, 8. I'll give it an 8. I did enjoy it a lot.
Okay. I'm go next. No, I really like this movie. I wasn't expecting, actually, to go through. And like I hinted also, it also seems to be lacking a lot of the more bad stuff that I did complain about in all of the previous movie. The CGI, unfortunately, is still present, and when it's present, it's sometimes a pain in the eye. Not as much as in Temple of the Sea, thankfully, but the crowded shots are still very noticeable, unfortunately. Thankfully, they're not that much in the movie. There is one in the credits, but it's not as noticeable. Ash is more, well-rounded as a character, doesn't hijack anything, he's not the chosen one for the situation, but yet he still has something to do, something to participate. He's clearly just, not necessarily a spectator, but someone present here that also helps the people who are actually in need, but at the end of the day, those still have to do the final stretch of lifting on their own, and that's kind of nice. Like I said, the score is actually really good. And by the end, even if the song is different from the Japanese one, it's still also good. We don't get the, what I did consider personally the out of place, overly aggressive rock or, pop type of song that really came into contrast to, at least again in my opinion, with the score that the movies have. But in this case, it's more tranquil, a gentle ballad that, while having some electronic instruments, it still eases up with the themes of the game and the movie. Sorry, and the actual lyrics too are pretty cool. It symbolizes Zoroark, affection towards their mother. Again, cool stuff. The movie is just very enjoyable as a small story arc. The villain is enjoyable, one of the better ones that we got in recent time. And admittedly, I even like the villains that we got previously. This is just, good on its own. The legendaries involved are pretty cool. No, really. Like I said, the only things that drag it down to me is really just mostly the CGI, but I pretty much consider this on par with the Lucario movie, to be honest.
Nice.
I don't remember if I gave that one a 9 or 9.5, but this one gets a 9. Anyway, Jova.
Yeah, no, I was very pleasantly surprised. Like, it's not the most big or bombastic plot we've gotten since Lucario, but in a way, it excels thanks to its simplicity. Like, nothing feels overly complicated, but it does feel like it's used to its potential all the same here and there. Kodai is a great villain. He uses his capabilities to their extent fully, while also having his own restrictions and, wanting to still keep things on the timeline, which gives him a villain motivation as well as a villain mentality that doesn't feel like he's simply a card-carrying villain who's going off of the evil overlord list or ignoring it profusely. Like, heck, he does use a well-made cage that Ash and company normally would not be able to escape from. He pretty much takes all the precautions he can, and while some may call bullcrap on the whole him knowing Rowena was going to betray him, I believe it since he did use a tracker and did use that to get the drop on them as well, so again, all in all, I'd say it really comes together. Like Tio mentioned, the music of this one is pretty great too, and all the voice acting is great and on point, especially Sean Schimmel's Kodai. It's honestly interesting to know just how much of a presence he has in Pokemon as well. Like, I honestly did not know, but I'm glad I do know. Zoroark feels like this franchise is a big apology for Shaman in the Giratina movie, and now just... Look, I still liked the Giratina movie, but Shaman docked that movie a few points for me, I'm sorry. And that was in spite of it having one of my favorite songs, too. But Zoroark feels like Shaman done right. Zoroark is a bit cocky, but doesn't get to the point of being overbearing and annoying, essentially. What's more, Zoroark actually plays a good enough role, not only in helping out the heroes, but in defeating the main big bad, and again, everyone gets their relative special spotlight. Except for Team Rocket, but look. As much as I do want to dock or judge this movie for it, I can acknowledge Team Rocket were never the main focus, so it's not like I can really dock this movie all the points just for, forgetting Team Rocket were a thing, since at least it doesn't try to pretend like they are some big important manner and all that. But I digress. No, Zoroark Masters of Illusion is definitely one of my favorite Pokemon movies, essentially. It is actually up there, and yeah, I'm going to give it a 9.
All right.
Good show.
Again,
it's not the most amazing Pokemon movie, but at the same, it's actually such a well-executed Pokemon movie that it doesn't need to be. It literally is something that sets out its basics and excels at that. Great stuff.
All right, that leaves you, Dedge.
Chuckles, I'm in danger. I fucking hated this movie, yo. That was boring as shit. What?
Contrarian. Oh my god.
I'll say.
I'm sorry.
Nah.
Go ahead.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I enjoyed this movie. I just didn't love it as much as you guys did. I thought it was like, yeah, this is pretty fun. This is all right. I'm enjoying the ride. I do feel like for the last Diamond and Pearl movie, I do wish that Dawn and Brock got a little bit more to do. But for what it was, yeah, this was a pretty good, solid film. I want to I'm gonna give this one a 7.5 because it was like, it's good. It's weird. I honestly did not think that Zora was as annoying as I thought it was. I guess I don't know what happened. I guess seeing this for the first time since 2011 or 2010, because I think I remember seeing this early before it officially debuted on TV. Kind of just changed some perspective. With me.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I mean, based off of what you had told me, I was fearing the worst from this movie, honestly. But no, Zora, it all works out.
I like the town setting. I do like how the villain is just this megacorp douchebag. But unlike most megacorp douchebags, he's not an idiot. He's just evil. And he even has the Garchomp hair, which I found funny. Because I guess it was supposed to be like he's a shark. Shark Tank! That's the joke. That's what they were going with. Not one shark. It's like, yeah, he does not. He wants to use the power of celebrity to his advantage, and just he doesn't care if the town gets ruined, which is a really bad thing. I mean, like, yeah, people were even if the possibility of he didn't evacuate the town and he just did this on his own accord, there's a chance that people could have died. The new character designs, except Carl, because it's just a weird version of Hilbert. Good. It's kind of after the whole trilogy thing, it's on a lesser scale, but still investing. And while Zoroark wasn't like this major face that you'd see more of, what they did with her was good. Which yeah, this was a pretty solid movie. I'll definitely rewatch this. I'm sure like my opinion of it will be much positive as we go on. Especially if the next movies are going to watch, which is the horror won't end.
Who knows? Maybe those will surprise us like this movie did.
So what's the chart now?
30.5.
So where does that place this movie in the overall ranking?
This is third place. It beat out Ranger by 1.5 points.
Wow.
In first place is Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. Second place, Spell of the Unknown. Third place, Zoroark Master Evolution. Fourth place, Temple of the Sea. Tide, and Fifth are Destiny, Deoxys, and Mewtwo Strikes Back. Then Mewtwo Returns. Then Urachi Wismaker. Team Go-Getters Get Out of the Gate. The Power of One. Mastermind Mirage. Pokemon. Rise of Darkrai. Celebi, Voice of the Forest. Heroes. Digimon the Movie. And last place, Legend of Zelda.
So, join us next.
Whoa! What's going on?
Man, I was hoping you were going to resist until the end, but I guess that was too much to ask.
The hell?
To be fair, I had little time to calibrate them, I suppose.
What the hell did you do, Teo?
Guess there is no point denying it anymore.
What?
Well, it's a test of sorts, Dej. Consider it a little game between us two.